He plays one of the world's oldest instruments, and at the age of 28, Egyptian-born Australian Joseph Tawadros is being hailed as one of the master players of the oud. Joseph has played with many of Australia's leading musicians and has just returned from New York, where he performed with some of the international jazz greats. He attributes much of his success to his Egyptian musical heritage. His latest album was a collaboration with the Australian Chamber Orchestra, and he dedicated it to his mother, who brought him here when he was 3 years old. Joseph Tawadros is speaking with Anne Marie Nicholson.
Joseph Tawadros, welcome to you and to your oud, to 1+1.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I've been listening to your music a lot recently. The music is it's seductive, it's sad, it's
really
beautiful.
Seductive. I like that. I like that. I didn't know that, so that's good to know. I might use that for the future. But
and it's very once you start, it's addictive as well.
Oh,
and
that's so lovely.
You're capturing music there that seems very old but very new. So tell me about your music.
Well, I guess the idea, they're all original compositions, and the idea behind it is the oud is such a Middle Eastern voice. You know, when you hear it, it instantly takes you to that region. But I guess I'm very much Australian as well. I like to think of myself as an Australian stuck in an Egyptian man's body. So basically, I'm very proud of my Egyptian heritage, and I'm very proud of my Australian heritage as well. So I guess it's a combination of both, and the idea with my music in general is about creating a music which doesn't lean towards any ethnicity, doesn't lean towards Middle Eastern music. I know, as I said, I do play a Middle Eastern instrument, but for me it's not like that. It's a general instrument, and one that has its respect in all genres and in all musics.
This instrument has its origins in many manifestations as a lute, perhaps going back to the beginning of time, really.
Well, the ancient Egyptians had a prototype, and that was called Nefer, and actually it's a hieroglyphic letter, Nefer. So if you look on the walls of some old temples, there is a letter that looks like an oud, basically. And then the Persians developed their own instrument, which was called the barbat, and then the Arabs took it further and made it another instrument. And in fact, biblically, there's references to the oud. King David played the lute, but the lute hadn't been invented by that time. So that was the translation for it. And of course, the lute came from the oud, and the word lute comes from al-oud, and then came to a lute, I guess, lute. So it's a very historically significant instrument, and one that I'm very happy to have as my voice.
And it's one that's been part of your life, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. Really, since you were born in Egypt.
Yeah, well, it's I guess it's that because it's such a strong symbol of Middle Eastern music, and our family are very proud of our heritage, and they're big movie buffs and big music buffs, and so the oud seemed to be a natural choice, and I saw it in a movie and I fell in love with it, and I'm still in love with it, and I'm very passionate about it and passionate about taking it to all sorts of places.
So you come from a family of professional musicians, but you came here at the age of 3. Mm-hmm. Why did your part of the family leave Egypt?
I guess, my family are from a Coptic background, and we felt that there could have been more opportunities here in Australia. I'm very much a product of the opportunities of Australia, and I probably wouldn't be in this same position that I am today, spreading my music around the world. Had I been in Egypt, I might not have been offered those opportunities.
You found yourself back there at that pivotal time, the beginnings really of the Arab Spring at the beginning of last year. Yes. In Egypt with your brother. Tell me about that experience.
Well, it was, in hindsight, we were part of history, and it was such a, I guess in hindsight, a great time to be there and witness history as it happened. But when we were there, it was really quite a scary time for us, and it was chaos. It was absolute chaos, and we couldn't get to our apartment. My brother and I were staying our family has an apartment there. We couldn't get there, so we had to stay with my auntie, and she lives in front of a police station, and the police weren't the most favourite people at that time. So that was burnt down, and we saw all of that happen, and the fighting and the looting and things like that. But it's such a great thing that they did. No one ever imagined that would happen in such a big and great Arabic country and the centre of the Arabic world to really remove the old regime. So that's something that we're very proud of, and something that the Egyptian people should really, and as myself as well, are very proud of what they achieved.
So, Joe, is politics important to you or not?
No, actually, I don't want anything to do with politics. It's my music is for everyone. It has no religion, it has no politics. But in saying that, it doesn't take me from being a humanist. Politics is one thing. Politics is wheeling and dealing and all sorts of things, which I as a musician cannot get involved in. That's a totally different thing. But as in human rights or things like that, you can only play your part and do your bit. So politics, I stay right away.
So on the music scene, a lot of people complain that there's not really been an Australian genre of music. Mm-hmm. Do you think that you're perhaps part of a wave, mm-hmm. which is inventing that? Your collaborations with the ACO, Richard Tinetti, your own music, your collaborations with your brother and other people?
I think we actually have a strong Australian genre. We have a strong Australian flavour and a strong Australian sound. I really do believe that. We're a combination of things. We're such a great country with so many cultures and so many people and such a wealth of talented people from all sorts of backgrounds, which I've collaborated with and I've seen in concert, so we have a strong wealth, if it be food or music or painting or anything or any of the arts. We do have a strong Australian flavour. We're a combination of everyone, and that's what makes Australia special. And the fact that we are so far from, I guess, the rest of the world, or Europe, which is so cultural and things like that, I think there's a type of inadequacy which artists or musicians feel in Australia, that they're not as good as the Europeans or things like that. And I think it's that type of thinking that actually makes us better, because it makes us work harder.
When you were performing in New York recently, where you've just been recording an album there with some really experienced, seasoned musicians who've gathered around you for this album, mm-hmm. How do you feel when you're in New York? Do you feel like an Australian abroad, or do you feel like you're simply a musician?
It's music, and it's sharing, and it's about sharing with other musicians, and that's the beauty of music. It's not about geography. I kind of find collaborations interesting sometimes. People kind of collaborate for certain geographies, like you find an Indian musician collaborating with a Chinese musician, they always have to link it to the Silk Road or something like that, whereas it doesn't kind of have to be like that. Music doesn't always you don't have to link to mediums. People can stand alone but have the same goal of creating something special, and I think that should be the idea of collaboration.
You're still in your late 20s. Mm-hmm. You're hailed as one of the great virtuosos of the oud. Hailed you are.
Wow, yeah.
And I wonder, where do you go from there? Do you feel that there's a lot more to achieve?
Oh, of course. It's you have to be a student. Every day's a school day. You see, you're learning every day, and that's the idea. And you always have to be a student of your instrument. I think if I ever come to a point where I think I know it all, I'll be going backwards. It's music is one. I think Miles Davis said you need 2 lifetimes to master an instrument. So it's that passion, and music has endless possibilities, and any musician that's very passionate about their instrument is really trying to achieve all those infinite possibilities, and it's endless, and it will never happen. So I think as long as you stay a student, as long as I stay a student of the oud and music, and my love of music is still there, and the passion is still there, no, we'll never stop, I think.
Well, Joseph Tawadros, thank you very much for talking to 1+1.
Musician Joseph Tawadros. You can, of course, catch us over the weekend on ABC News 24. You can view past